Hey guys, still here and welcome back. It's episode 12 of the Great War Western Fronts. The Western Front is about to shift east. Some of these sectors have few stars left. Perron still has 3, Maubeuge has 2, Florent has 2, but all the others are running low. So this means the net is tightening and the front is shifting. I'm also going to shift the front a bit more. I have a small-ish attack group over here, and I'm going to push into Liège and Aachen. Most likely, that is, or Maaseik. I want to liberate Belgium, and I'm going to do that by pushing through. Alternatively, I could go here. I mean, La Roche-en-Ardenne is a single point, a single star. So I could take that and do another sort of encirclement, or even push through Kreuznach. But that's probably going to be a bit more difficult. So I want to focus on the liberation of Belgium first. And we're going to do that also using Airpower. Why not? Why not? I'm going to get a landing strip, and I'm going to get the bombers. I have not played around with bombers in the campaigns at all, so this should make my life pretty interesting. I get the British Air Wing, 2 fighters, 1 bomber each, and the French Air Wing, 4 air squadrons with 2 fighters and 1 bomber each. Sorry, same deal here. 4 squadrons, 2 fighters, 1 bomber. So you basically get 8 planes of fighter type and 4 planes of the bomber type. I can call these in, but I cannot use them this particular turn. That is fine. We are going to send them all the way over here. And I'm going to set up an airfield. Increases the supply granted by air wings by 20. Reduces the cost to replenish a surviving aircraft after a battle by 15. So let's make sure that these guys are ready. I still have a pretty big stack over here in Dinant. And I don't expect any attack from Rochefort. So I can start moving this fairly large multinational force forward. I will give them like a few tanks. Maybe the French tank battalions are going to stay here. The Brits are going to move up. The Indian infantry, the French. At this point, I have long given up about the whole disunity of command situation. So I'm not really going to focus on that too much. Now this means I can hit Liège this turn. Especially if I build like a supply base. I know I'm running a little low on cash, but that should be fine. I can get a minor victory. I can hit them once. Next turn, I can hit them again. And with that, I'll take Liège and potentially some more. Sadly, no aircraft this time around. So I'm going to take this first battle off screen. The second one, with the planes, that's what I'm going to show you next. So, the encirclement has done its damage. And the Germans have lost 180 points of national will. Good lord. They did mop up all of their troops inside of this little corridor that they still have left. They're going to start moving out of Florent and Maubeuge into Perron, but since it's an island, they cannot move any further. They cannot attack at all. So, this does mean that the forces over here are potentially a little more mobile again, because they're not as likely to reconnect everything. They do have a fairly sizable stack here. Sedan certainly has 12. I'm seeing 7 in Stenai, but I'm not really seeing any breakthrough forces beyond that one stack. Even if they do try and attack Fumé, it's probably not going to go that well. Because I still have my tanks, I still have my defensive units, and, well, let's just for good measure give them a supply depot to make sure I can take some supply from the general's supply stash. But, of course, more interestingly, we're going to hit Liège again. This time with a fairly sizable group of units. Last time around I had 1 tank company and they all survived, so that's progress. Now I'm also going to start using the air wings. So I want to have 2 tank companies, 2 tank battalions and a couple of ground troops. Let's make them all Brits, and we're going to take Liège. My plan here is to cut off all the stacks in Ghent, Brussels, Leuven and Hasselt, making sure that all of these guys are going to be contained, while the other guys are going to get fairly likely back into the fight, fairly swiftly as well. I did forget to spend my research points, so let's do that first. This is tier 2 aircraft, or tier 2 airfield. It's going to increase your supply granted by 10, but I'm a little money constrained at the moment. I already have the highest tier wartime bonds, so I'm getting as much money as I can per turn. I don't really see any further benefits to getting bigger supply caches or storage bunkers, because, well, I don't really seem to be hurting for supply either. So let's focus on getting a bit of firepower from the sky in the form of harassments, allowing air missions for bombers. So not just bombing missions, but also harassment missions, which I believe that they're going to strafe some trenches. Which, we're about to find out. Can they do that or not? Let's visit Liège. I hear it's nice this time of year. So, we're going to take to the skies, and I've already deployed trenches here because I already fought this battle just before. The enemy did put up some defense, but not that much. You can still see their trenches here, here, and there. But keep in mind, there's only 2 enemy cores here, so it's not really that dangerous. Now, I do have a nice and healthy amount of supply, so I can probably buy an observation balloon and allow that to get me some intel on most of the Y trench. We're going to use a couple tanks, but I don't have... Well, I still have a lot of them. I was going to say I don't have as many as I normally do, but I won't use as many as I normally do. We're going to go with a stack of 6, which should still be more than enough firepower to punch my way through. I'm going to have the British infantry defending the line here. I don't expect an attack, but that's usually when you need to be most cautious. The AI can do some crazy things. Now, I also want to have some arty in order to suppress things that happen to be opposing me. You know, sometimes the AI brings out a pesky weapon system here and there, i.e. a mortar. And I suppose that with this, we're ready to begin. So, the bombers should now be able to go on bombing missions and harass the enemy mortars if they decide to come up against me. And my bombers can do bombing missions, but also harassment missions. Orders a bomber squadron to hunt down and strafe enemy infantry on open ground. They can also fire on infantry in basic trenches, but will ignore infantry in improved and advanced trenches. This is going to cost me 60 per, which is a lot more expensive than your regular artillery mission, which is only going to cost me, what, 10? 6. So this is 5 times the... Sorry, this is 10 times the price. But I have 1,700 supplies. So, yeah, let's see how this is going to go. I want the bomber to harass here. Immediately, these guys are going to... No, 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 no. Yes, start moving. You can either sit there and die, or you can attack into my tank and still die. The choice is entirely yours. The rest of the infantry, we're going to start moving up. Yeah, they're definitely going to have a bit of a problem here. This is kind of what I was talking about a moment before, when I said it's a bit curious what the AI does at times. Okay, let's see. Is this a basic fire trench or an advanced? Did you just spray this trench? What is my aircraft doing? It's definitely trying to do some damage, but... Oh, hold on. It did. It just killed 60 guys over there. But look at how quickly the fuel on this thing runs out. They do. Holy shit. What I'm not entirely sure about is why is this mission strictly bomber? Why don't fighters do this? Because a fighter has 2 missions. It can do air superiority, so taking down other fighters, or it can do balloon bursting. And that will allow you to very quickly get rid of enemy observation balloons so that they can't see anything. Yes, you can do the same thing with artillery, but a fighter generally does it a bit faster. Holy Jesus, you guys took a bunch of damage. Why exactly the bombers are the ones doing the strafing mission, I don't quite understand. Seemingly we did get some money out of this thing. Or rather, we got some results out of it, but not nearly as much as I was hoping for. Stop. That is a mortar emplacement. We're gonna run a bombing mission here. Pull back the tanks a bit. Spread out the infantry a bit. Get this tank fixed, please. And send in the bomber. I want to get rid of both of these border emplacements, and yes, you could just brute force your way in. It doesn't really matter. I'm just basically playing around the AI at this point. Or rather, well, I'm not so sure I can say playing around the AI. I'm basically playing in a way that tries out different weapon systems, including, in this case, a bomber. Now, I can't actually see them. So let's move up with some of the healthy tanks. This guy is getting fixed. I also saw this guy gaining health again. So I guess they just need to be surrounded by enough other troops. There we go. Stop. Oh. Yeah, that thing loses hit points very, very quickly. There you go. That's one down. Time to bomb the other one. Keep moving. Hello? It's still up there somewhere. But this is basically why I'm not using aircraft. Bombers, particularly. Because my tanks... I mean, they're going to cost me money anyway. They're going to cost me supplies to buy. They're going to cost me money on the strategic map to get. They can do this for free. They can kill this thing for free. Is it going to cost them some health? Yes. But since I have self-healing tanks, I don't care. I just don't care. I can just keep going. And because of that, it is so easy to keep your tanks repairing, attacking, and just going back and forth. And a plane that's doing the same thing once for 90 points, 60 to 90 points, bombing mission is 90 points, the harassment, so the strafing is 60. Feels extremely expensive. Just way, way, way more than I would want to pay. Come on, get rid of some of these, because they're starting to take quite the beating. My tank force is a bit split up now. Go back in. We can go back out. Alright, let's start pushing the infantry inside. Where are you going? Yeah, there's a bunch of guys in there. As expected, really. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys the bombers, so you know what they do. But beyond this display of, hey, this is a bomber and this is what it does, I probably won't use them. Because they're just extremely cost inefficient. And yes, when the enemy has a bunch of armor, they're incredible weapons. Because they deal a massive amount of damage to tanks. But when the enemy does not have tanks that are opposing you, it just doesn't really matter. And I might have used the fighters like a while before in order to deal damage against things such as enemy bombers, which at some point, like maybe episode 4 or so, they attacked. But after that, and even then, I didn't really need them. That's when I decided to not use any mortar emplacements or machine guns, simply because they weren't going to be surviving due to the enemy bomber. So, considering that, I think Airpower either needs a buff or a change. In the sense that right now you're just paying a massive amount of money for it, and it doesn't really deliver. Whereas tanks, sure, they're going to cost you a bunch of research points, but they're so incredibly effective, they're so incredibly good at what they do, that it does not really matter. You just send them forward, you send them back, and I know that these tanks had mechanics aboard, but I think the mechanic, the mechanic, so the self-healing properties of these vehicles, that needs to go. It's making these things way too strong, it's making them way more powerful than they need to be. And take that away from the tank, and all of a sudden, this hit point bar becomes a lot more important. And you're going to be forced to try and find other ways of either keeping your tank alive or focusing more on combined arms offensives. Whereas right now, well, I'm basically doing these drive-thrus, which I've been doing for a couple of episodes, because they're too efficient. And especially with the self-healing thing, yeah, you can just keep going. Pretty much like I have been doing. I want you guys to get into the command trench, if you will. I want you guys to leave. And tanks are still a bit wonky. Like, this guy's not even shooting anything right now. Whereas, supposedly, they do have a shot. There we go. Ah, nice of you to show up. Get back here. You've been fixed. This is what I mean, I can just rotate these things in and out as needed. Okay, so the command train's being captured. I did lose a bunch of infantry here because I didn't actually put them into a trench. Let's go. I do wonder what you guys think about the whole airplane versus tanks mechanic. And I don't mean you're attacking tanks with air. Yes, you can do that. I mean more along the lines of what needs to change. Because I think there's something that has to give. Either the tanks have to be made weaker, or the planes have to be made far, far, far cheaper in order to execute their missions. Because for 90 points, you can basically get 2 tanks if you deploy them pre-battle. Yeah, I will accept your surrender. 2 tanks is 100 points in pre-deployment. So I would always pick 2 self-healing tanks over 1 bombing run. Always. There's just no thought about it. So that's something that needs balancing. And when it comes to taking down planes, I don't really think you have to. It's mostly so that, well, either you wait it out, or you just accept it as, okay, this is going to hurt for a bit, done, and you move on. So yeah, something needs to change about the air power. Anyway, Liège was supposed to be an interesting map, I guess, when you're defending it. When you're attacking, at least from this vector, it doesn't really seem that special. Yes, there are forts supposedly on this map, but I haven't seen them. Now, if only I could push right through into Maas Eik, into this one lonely core. Sadly, I cannot. I do expect to find that the enemy will relocate some of their stacks, because I'm basically forcing them to either attack with these stacks or break them up. Because Aachen, Malmedy, Maas Eik to some extent, they're all extremely vulnerable and will likely fall very, very quickly. Because they don't have anything, so either attack with this and find some way to break through into my lines, or pull back, spread out these troops, and have some defense everywhere. But the Germans have been so much on the defensive that I don't really expect them to do a whole lot of useful things. Let's move on to the next turn. There you go. That's another bunch of points down. That's another 60 negative. Unsustainable. Our constant pressure on their lines has severely demoralized not only the enemy troops in the trenches, but the civilians in their hometowns. Already, their people and politicians speak about ending the war. It's still a murmur, but the more we press, the louder that murmur becomes. Very good, very good. Events: the Russians withdraw. Reports from Germany reveal that Russian soldiers are withdrawing from the lines all along the Eastern Front to join the revolution in their country. Allied nations are worried this turn of events could allow Germany to redirect their forces off those lines to the west and south, adding strain to the already tired forces on those lines. Have you seen our lines? Defeat 2 flak panzers. If they have them. The flak panzer is a joke of a vehicle. At least it was the last time I used it. These things are incredibly poor. They don't do anything very well. I remember I was streaming this against Brother Monroe, and we had a couple of these things standing underneath aircraft, and they were just not doing anything. Whereas it is supposed to actually shoot down enemy aircraft. They do seem to have redistributed some of their forces to Aachen, as expected, and Malmedy, and La Roche-en-Ardenne. Where do we go next? Sedan now has 8. We have 2 there. This stack of 9 is going to start relocating fairly swiftly back here in 1 turn. So we're going to have to do something, and we're going to have to do it fairly quickly. Where's the next offensive going to happen? I do have my... These are air wings, mostly there to kill off enemy bombers, but I haven't seen a bomber in a very, very, very long time. This stack, I'm not afraid of. If they push in, by all means, they're going to come home in a bag. So, let's see. They're not really likely to push on Ghent. I need to cut them off. I can either do so right at Aachen, or I can assault Hasselt twice. Or even 3 times with the forces that I have here. Allowing Hasselt to fall will encircle Ghent, Brussels and Leuven, and should quickly cut them off. It's not going to be that easy normally. I only have 2 tanks there. Never mind. These guys do have a few more tanks. So that's progress. And the guys here, they also have 6 tanks. My tank cores have been a bit spread out, because I am expecting a semi-counteroffensive here. This is a 10 stack, there's a 2 there, there's a 4 there, and Hasselt has 4. So if I attack from here, I can use my supply depot, and yeah, we're going to start pushing. Let's engage in battle. Let's kick out these guys in Hasselt, and let's make sure that we surround the Germans in Belgium, forcing them to give up Brussels. So, the map of Hasselt, at least from one direction. This one is an interesting capture. It is somewhat forested, but the game doesn't actually consider them to be thick enough forests to provide any concealment. Then you got the Y position and the Zulu position and the command trench. So my plan is to push on X, because I think it's going to be fairly difficult to get some trenches dug here. And that does open up the way for me to push in. So, I only have 6 tanks total, and I'm going to use all of them. Because we're going to need that firepower. Charlie Point here. Yeah, let's put up some defenses. They have 4 cores as opposed to 2 previous. So I do need to be a bit more cautious in whether or not the enemy is going to strike here. Let's use the British Standard Infantry as my attack squadron. This time around I do not have access to planes, I believe. Or do I? Well, not now anyway. Let's get some arty involved. I'll take this arty here. One there. One there. I still have 692 points left, so let's get a balloon. Allowing my tanks to get a bit more intel on X-ray right before we attack. That's going to open up the way for the arty to suppress and for others to join the fight later. Others being the infantry. Let's put another trench there. Gotta defend the windmill. There. I have to say, I'm getting a little disappointed with this game. In the sense that once you understand how it works, once you understand that you can wear down the enemy with a couple of attacks, and I mean, you let them attack, you let them crash into your defenses, and as they do that, they cost a lot of money. The enemy's going to lose a lot of money. Now, doing that means they're not likely to attack you again. And as such, you just slowly but steadily snowball your way towards tanks. And by doing that, you become almost unstoppable. That is my problem with this game. You just become almost unstoppable. I've completely forgot to spend my research points, I think. Oh well. And that's, yeah, well, actually, that perfectly highlights the point. I forgot to spend my research points, and I'll probably not notice any adverse effects from forgetting to do that. I understand that, well, with almost any game, there becomes a point where a player understands the mechanics and goes, aha, I get it now, and I'm going to make sure that I use this advantage and just kill off the enemy units. That's how a game works. It's kind of what makes it fun playing, because you learn, you improve, you adapt, and you win. That's, I think, the play cycle for most games. When it comes to this game, it was so interesting to do the whole trench warfare thing, because it was different. It was a different way of defending. I thought, oh, I can do all sorts of interesting things with defending, with trench design, with different layouts, maybe machine gun pits that are entrenched in concrete, maybe positions such as researching the emplaced mortar pits, maybe using lines and lines and lines of barbed wire. And eventually, you get tanks, and the game just starts to revolve around the tank. Leaving the AI basically nowhere, because they can't do anything. And the whole premise of the trench warfare, it kind of gets lost. Because you don't need the trenches anymore. The only reason I'm using trenches is because I have to put my infantry in there prior to an attack. And or to make sure that the enemy doesn't push anywhere. That's about all that I'm doing. And that's all that I have to do. The whole defensive mechanic, it just isn't there. And I feel kind of sad about that. Because I thought, oh nice, different type of game. It's going to challenge me in new ways. It did for a while. And as long as you recognize that you need to get like a couple of defensive battles that you win, it just is pretty much GG after that. Because the enemy can't do anything. And right now, I suspect that I'll be able to very quickly capture Yankee. The enemy hasn't killed anything of me yet. Well, like maybe a couple of infantrymen, but who's counting? And they're going to get so demotivated that the AI goes, yeah, no. We're going to surrender. And this is going to be the end. Here we go. Tanks have completed another sweep. Faster, faster, faster. I'm expressly keeping the command trench for last to make sure that I don't have to tackle that thing, because I will always lose troops there. Pretty much a given. Because of the nature of the trench. Also, this sniper mechanic, this is such horseshit. Their closest trench is over there. They don't have an observation balloon. They can't see anything. How the hell are my troops here taking sniper fire? Why are these guys going down? If the sniper mechanic is implemented properly, I would say, okay, if you can see the enemy, here we go again. If you can see the enemy, then by all means, let them start taking losses. If you cannot see the enemy, then the snipers can't actually shoot at anything. Right now, it's just a magic... I wouldn't even call it debuff, because it's essentially a kill radius, a kill... How should I put that? Like a toxic field. If your infantry stays inside of it, it dies, but the toxic field spans across the entire map. Simply because the AI can see everything. And it's not just the AI, because I too can see everything. So that's another mechanic that I would like to see changed in this game, because it's a bit much in that sense. It's a bit too strong. I'm going to push on Zulu next. I'm going to allow them to maintain their position at the command trench. So I hope that by taking this, I can demotivate them enough, making it so that they simply won't attack anymore. And that they just give up. I'm not sure I have enough firepower with these two tanks. I'll probably need another two. Defeating flak panzers, yeah, I'd love to, but, you know, they gotta have some of those first. These guys are definitely a bit more wounded than I'd hoped. But hey, I haven't lost a tank yet, so that's progress. Come on, gentlemen. One. Attack order still a bit wonky. Sweep it. What I'm also a bit confused about is that the AI has the potential... Uh-oh. Oh! The AI has the potential to research better trenches. Trenches that will allow the AI to take far less damage from tanks. If they put a couple of those in my path, then it's going to be far more difficult for me to get all my tanks to start sweeping. So, I would say, and this is from a non-programmer point of view, if the enemy, so if, let's say, if player starts to research tanks, or has tanks, has shown that he has tanks, in that case, start researching trench counters. Give your infantry better grenades, maybe add a bit to the tech tree that allows you to build Dragon's Teeth, maybe allow for priority for anti-tank weapons if and when implemented, and make sure that the enemy couldn't use the tanks, but that they're going to have to pay for using said tanks. I don't know, add a minefield to the strategic map, so that if a tank battalion goes in there, it does not come home. But first of all, it's a World War I game, so improve your trenches. Because I can't show it right now, but the improved firing trench, or the advanced firing trench, the one that used to cost you 50, I think it now costs you 30. That would be a perfect counter, and all you have to do is basically pour concrete into a trench. That seems to be the general gist of it. Am I still losing men? Probably losing men somewhere. Just not here. Okay. Let's take this area and make sure that the Germans lose the entirety of Belgium. Just drive right through. They don't have any machine gun pits. They do have mortars. Damn it. Help your weaker brother here. Still have a cannon tank here. Yeah, we do. Let's go. What? We are under attack. Interesting. Partially unexpected. You get back there. You move up. No, 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 no. I expect I appreciate the bravery, but bravery and stupidity are generally quite close together, and this one's going to get you killed. So don't do that. Also, why are you here? What is this? Look, these infantrymen are just passing through, right? I'm not even trying to take these Germans down. I'm just trying to get to their control point. Go on. They got almost no army strength left. So this should go down fairly quickly. These two guys are getting fixed up. Not sure if that mortar is still functional. Let's pay a little visit. Yeah, it's still functional. Okay, we're gonna hit some of these trenches, making sure that they temporarily can't shoot me. There's your pit down. There's another over there. Get that thing. Get the machine gun. Go on. Whoa, 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 whoa! Shit. Seen that. Good enough. Go! Does feel like they do a bunch more damage now. Okay. They have surrendered. Excellent. Now it is time to take the attack again and make sure that they lose the entirety of Belgium. If this cost me any money, 495, but I get 400. And I get a bunch of supplies. So yeah. Did it cost me any money? Yes. Did it cost me a whole lot of money? Not really. 95, I mean, if that's all, then I can live with that. As also the second battle draws to a close, the Germans realize it is curtains. And as the curtain falls on the held position by the Germans of Hasselt, so too does their grasp of Belgium start to waver. Because with this battle and this victory, I have encircled yet another bit of the German territory, or at least the German-held territory. I mean, it's not German territory. It's the road that is called Belgium. Although Belgium is famously known, at least here, for having god-awful roads. Anyway, that means Hasselt conquered. Leuven, Brussels, Ghent, surrounded. I think the game hasn't quite recognized it, because the game, well, we're still on May 1917. If they lose these sectors, that's going to cost them a lot more, and of course they're also going to lose Peronne. As that happens, it's going to be interesting to see where the next stack appears. Because they got a pretty healthy amount of troops here. There's 9 in there. There's 10 there. There's 2 there. There's 8 there. That is a sizable army. And they have basically a shrinking front line to use that army on. So I don't know where we're going to find them. and you're going to find out about that when I do in the next episode. Thanks for watching this one, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more.